Hi guys. So I'm actually on page 374. It's the ready to move on. And the first thing that we're doing on this page is finding the square of each number. Do you remember how to do the square of a number? Number 1 says the square of 5. So it looks like that. You literally multiply 5 times 5, which is 25. Number 2, the square of 16. So 16 times 16, which is, I'm using my calculator, 256. Number 3, negative 11 squared. Now, the reason why I put it in parentheses is because that negative sign is getting squared as well. A negative times a negative is a positive. So I'm going to do 11 times 11, which gives me 121, and it is going to be a positive 121. Number 4, 2/7 squared. I once again put parentheses around it because I am squaring both of those. 2 squared over 7 squared, or 2 times 2 over 7 times 7. Okay? So when it wants us to square a fraction, we square both the top and the bottom. 2 times 2 is 4, and 7 times 7 is 49. Number 5, we are now doing order of operations. Oh, yay, this is fun. Okay, so square root sign, and then inside I have, 6 plus 2 squared plus 3 plus 3 squared. So the very first thing that we do is PEMDAS, parentheses, exponents, multiplication, division, addition, subtraction. Always, always, always. Parentheses. I have 2 sets of parentheses. There and there. 6 plus 2 is 8. 3 plus 3 is 9. 6. I bring down the squared. I bring down the addition sign. I bring down the squared, and I bring down the square root. Now, we treat the square root sign like it is parentheses. Okay, so we do everything under the square root sign first, and then we do the square root sign. So 8 squared, that is literally 8 times 8, which is 64, plus 6 squared, that is literally 6 times 6, which is 36. Whole of this, under the square root sign, 64 plus 36 is 100. The square root of 100. Now, I know what the square root of 100 is, but if you do not know what the square root of 100 is, you can do it this way. I have 100. I type that in. Then I go over here and I see this key. Do you see that key? This key. And I push it. Oh, wait. Sorry. This is not doing what I wanted it to do. Square root, I guess on this one I have to do 100 first. And then I can press equals 10. Okay. If you have a cheap calculator, this is a more expensive calculator. If you have a cheap calculator, you type in the number first, then the square root key. If you have a more expensive calculator like this one, you type in the square root key first, then the number. Yeah. So figure out the way that it works for your calculator, and you can do it that way. Okay, so I have the square root of 100 is 10. Number 6, we have square root of the quantity 9 minus 4 squared plus 5 plus 7 squared. Okay, 9 minus 4. 5 squared plus 5 plus 7. 12 squared, all still under the square root. 5 times 5 is, sorry, I should probably put this over here so that we don't get confused. All under the square root. 5 times 5 is 25, plus 12 times 12, which is, I'm not expecting you to know this one right off the top of your head. So in this one, I'm going to do 12, and then I have squared right there, x squared. So see how it says 12 squared now? I'm going to press equals, and it gives me 144. So still square rooting, 25 plus 144, 169. And the square root of 169, so I'm going to go square root 169 equals 13. Number 7, as I said, calculators, they're fantastic. And you can get a dollar store one. They will do the squared. They will do the square root. You just have to make sure that you get one of the dollar store scientific calculator ones, and they'll do it. They will do it for you. Number 7, square root of the quantity 10 minus 6 squared plus the quantity 15 minus 12 squared. So 10 minus 6 is 4 squared plus 15 minus 3, 15 minus 12, which is 3 squared. Still under the square root sign. 4 squared is 4 times 4, which is 16, plus 3 squared, 3 times 3, which is 9. Still under the square root sign. 16 plus 9 is 27. No, not 27. 25 is 25. So we have the square root of 25. Square root is literally what times what is equal to that number. 5 times 5 is equal to that number. So the square root of 25 is 5. Okay? Because 5 times 5 is equal to that number, just like up here. 10 times 10 is equal to 100. 13 times 13 is equal to 169. Number 8, last one. For this part anyway. Square root of 6 plus 9 squared plus 10 minus 2 squared. Okay? 6 plus 9 is 15 squared plus 10 minus 2 is 8 squared. Still under the square root sign. 15 squared, I do not know, so I'm going to come over here and do that. 225 plus 8 squared. 8 times 8 is 64. I'm going to do 225 plus 64, which gives me 289. I still need to do the square root of that. I have absolutely no idea what that is. And it is apparently 17. So 17 times 17 is equal to 289. All right, pause if you need to. I am moving on. Number 9 has simplifying expressions still, except this time it's just a lot of multiplying. Okay, so we can still do PEMDAS. You can still do it in whatever order you want. You could do the 8 times to 10 first. You could even do the 5 times to 10 first. It doesn't matter. They're all multiplication. They're all going to go together. What I am going to do first, though, is the 5 times the 8. And the reason I'm doing that is because I know 5 times 8 makes 40. And so I have 40 times 10. Now, I know 1 will make whatever the number is go. And then that extra 0 just means I add on 1 more 0. So 400. I'm done. I don't need a calculator or anything. I could just solve it inside my head. Number 10. 1/2 times 6 times 12. Okay, so again, you have a couple of choices for how you want to do this. I can see 2 right off the top of my head. Since we are multiplying by 1/2, it's actually saying let's divide by 2. So you're asking the question, well, what do I want to divide by 2? You know what I really want to divide by 2? That 12. Because I'm not so good at my 12 facts. So I'm going to divide that 12 by the 2. Which means that I end up rewriting this problem as the 6, which I started with, and then 12 divided by 2, which is also 6. So I now have 6 times 6, which is 36. And that's my answer for that one. Number 11. 1/3 times 3 times 12. Again, since I'm multiplying by a fraction, it actually means I'm dividing by that number. I'm dividing by the 3. 3 divided by 3 becomes 1. So I'm left with 12. That's all. Number 12. 1/2 times 8 squared times 4. Okay, have to do PEMDAS again. I have a squared in there, so I have to take care of that first. So I do 1/2 times 8, which is 64, times 4. I have a couple of choices about what I want to do with this to simplify it. Remember that 2, I'm going to divide that 2 out of something. I think in this particular instance, the easiest way to be doing it is going to be to divide the 2 out of that 4. Because 4 divided by 2 is 2. So I now have 64 times 2. I'm just left with that. And then I know that the 4 times 4 is 8. 6 times 2 is 12. So I have 128 for that one. Number 13. I've yet to get out a calculator. All of this stuff I'm just doing in my head. I'm explaining how I'm doing it. 1/4 times 10 squared times 15. Okay, so first off, I need to get rid of that squared. 1/4 is fine. 10 squared, which is 10 times 10, which is 100, times 15. Okay. I need to divide something by that 4. Well, I know from money that 4 quarters make $1, and 100 is how we can write $1. So I am actually going to do these 2 together. I'm going to divide 100 by 4, which is going to give me 25 times 15. I do not know 25 times 15, so I'm actually going to do that one, and I'm going to get 375 as my answer. Sorry, you can't really see. It's 25 times 15 over there. Number 14, the last one. 1/3 times 9 squared times 6. Once again, I have to take care of that exponent first. So I'm going to be rewriting. 1/3 times 9 is 81 times 6. I have that 3. I can divide that 3 out of something. I am probably going to divide that 3 out of the 6 just because it's a lot easier to do. So I end up with 81 staying the same, and then 6 divided by 3 being 2. So I have 81 times 2. 2 times 1 is 2. 2 times 8 is 16. 162. And that's all for page number 374. I will be putting out the video for 12.1 in just a little bit. See you soon. Bye.